Welcome everyone to your season 4 round 5, I believe. We're at the Hungaroring, very hot day with track temperatures coming up to almost 36 degrees Celsius. I am Taylor Mono. With me on the desk, Bailey Kish and Austin Sawyer. How are you both doing today?
Oh, I'm happy to be here. I am hungry for some GT3 racing.
Hungry. Austin, how you doing?
We're doing great. Glad to join you guys.
First time on the desk here in D4 at least. Not sure if you have been anywhere else, but welcome.
First time.
Well, first time. Well, thought we can pop that cherry for you.
Yo.
Whoa.
Easy.
So,
Doug, help.
Since it's your first time here, do you just want to run us through, the quick key overtaking points of the track? Some good highlight areas here.
So we have one overtaking opportunity on this track. If no one makes mistakes, that big long straight you're looking at. That's about it, in my experience.
Any other places people were willing to take
I like the
back?
run up. After turn 3. You can kind of get a little saucy, kind of fake a move here or there, but you definitely don't want to run too wide.
Okay.
I feel like people invalidate really wide there a lot, so you can kind of squeeze out the one side a little bit. But that's where I would do it.
Luckily, we don't have to deal with that now, as we are just in the midst of silver qualifying here on board with Bertus. We will get to your standings while we're in mid-break between race and qualifying. But I first want to ask Bailey what he thinks about certain cars going around here. Which the good ones, what are the bad ones, who you think's really going to shine?
So, just from looking at timetables, lap data, a little bit of the lap time leaderboards as well, it seems to me that the Porsche, the Audi, or not the Audi, what the heck, who says that? The Porsche, the McLaren, looks like the Ferrari is actually pretty decent around here too. A lot of the mid-engine cars or front-engine cars have a good time as well, just because they can eat up the curbs. Speaking from experience, the Audi is not very good anywhere.
I would say especially here more because due to that trail braking.
Yes, so it's more of not fighting other people. It's more about fighting the car you're driving for the Audi.
As I can say personally, in the practice race yesterday, just the 30 minutes was constant fighting. So very curious to see what happens here today. And you were mentioning the McLaren pretty much outlining the top 10 right now, despite the 2 Ferraris, 2 Lambos, and the one random, is that an Aston Martin, I think, in the mix? I think so.
Yes, it is.
But on board with Bertus, who has already set a 46 flat and is about to set another scorching lap once he crosses the line here with a 45.5 from the silver person. That's a pretty good time in terms of silver, at least.
It is, and times are just going to ramp up here with the tires getting worn in. Like you said, it is a very warm track today, so we will be seeing probably some blistering laps here from these silvers, if not at least half of the gold division.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if the gold doesn't kind of ramp up towards the end. We're actually on board with Hatch here, who is setting one of his fastest laps, nearly a second up, coming around the last couple of turns. You just wait for him to cross the line. Austin, what is your thoughts on this track? I know you drive the Honda. You haven't been overly ecstatic on it, but what's your experiences here with it?
It's really flowing, right? So the whole, after you get up that hill, that whole section just flows from corner to corner. You really don't have time to really think. It's not like Paul Ricard, right, where you're kind of just sitting, just going on a grocery run. But now it's a lot of attention. Running wide, it can get you invalidating, especially after that uphill hit there. I know I'm not quality for that practice race. Did not set a single valid lap, so we started from the back. Right there, we ran wide every single time, but we were setting it at least.
And you were saying you did a ton of, at least a decent amount of practice. You're saying you only set 69 actually valid laps out of 170 some?
Oh, that was at Spa. We
That was
have
at
had,
Spa?
nah, yeah, we haven't had too much practice here, to be honest.
Got it.
Be gentle with me tomorrow.
I cannot promise anything. But we should be looking for times to dip down into that 44 range once the golds get out and the track really gets ramped up and that grip is in there, even though the track is at optimum at the moment. Bertus still your top leader with that 45.5, not really improving at all, but I'll tell you one person who is improving, Farrell here. Almost 4/10 up on his lap. If he can hook it all up together just nice and neatly, that will put him just above Connor in P4.
Yeah, we got a lot of people actually just bumping and jumping all over the red and green zones here. Not a lot of consistency, so it's about who can get the cleanest lap in and the quickest at the same time.
I mean, a lot of...
Which is technically qualifying, so...
Yep. We're kind of past the banker point stages of lap time, and now you're really just kind of sending it to the wind. If you crash, you crash. You can always recollect the car, and as we're talking and watching Farrell, he loses all 3/10 in that second sector, and that McLaren, probably not the biggest fan with those nice big sausage curbs sitting at, what are the turns? The chicane turns.
Yeah, and as you say that, Connor, who was in 4th, just improved his time by 3/10 and did a 148 flat. So
Even if Farrell did get up on his time, he'd stick right where he is at. Live and you learn. We're watching the Aston. Go for it.
Yeah, speaking of Connor, he has to serve a stop and go 30 for this race, so it's crucial to really try to get away from the people, avoid some crashes, try to recoup on this race.
Yeah, we should probably go over penalties. Do you happen to have penalties? Who's taking
Yeah,
the
so
stop goes?
he's the only stop go for the race,
Okay.
and then we just have 3 quali bans for Menzies, Rosa, and Labello. So they're just being nice, sit in the pits. So I don't have to put out the ban hammer yet for them if I see them get out of the pits.
One key thing to note, those are all silver drivers.
Yep.
So, shouldn't affect our gold qualifying at the very least, as watching Kimball cross the line at almost 5/10 clicker, puts himself P5, gonna have to let the car in front of him go off on their very way, and we're gonna go back to watching Farrell, who is now almost a second up on his lap time.
yeah, and as you say that, EEL is actually 1.4 seconds up on his time in P11 currently,
Wow.
as he's
Lots-
making his way through the last corner.
Lots of time to be made up here, as they do only have about 1 minute 20 seconds left in qualifying. So Farrell should be able to cross the line just in time to get another lap in. Anyone else who just now starts their lap probably won't be getting another one.
Yeah, and EEL did a 0.6 improvement and is now sitting in P9, so pretty good lap there.
They're improving again. Farrell has lost 3/10 on their lap. Trying to gain it all back in this corner. Very long, out wide kind of turn. Not sure if you want to take the last turn like that, but I haven't driven the McLaren around here, so that could be the line you want to take. But he puts his car up in P4, bumps Connor down to P5, who isn't improving on this lap, and Farrell will have one more lap to improve himself.
And Jack Patch, our boy down in GRR, is actually up 7/10, 8/10 on his lap, 9/10 on his lap.
He is indeed. He hasn't been a front runner, at least in the silver division, but maybe this week is his week in the McLaren. Not the best in terms of curves, but this track is a very flowy kind of track, so the McLaren might be a pretty strong car here.
And he's about, there's only about a couple people, 3-4 people who are actually improving on their last lap here.
Yes, as qualifying has ticked over for the silver, so the last car crossing line instead of time for the silver, or the first of the last, is car number 696. Did I read that right? 696, yes. Crosses over the line, finishes their lap. Nothing spectacular, but we should see the gold start flowing out onto the track now.
Jack Patch was up 2 seconds on his lap and just goes off the track second to last turn to
As in
validate his
validation.
lap.
So he will sit P11.
Unfortunate to watch.
Is Connor, I believe one of the last of our silver drivers, is up 4/10 on his lap, rounding out the final turn here. He will put her 5th, not improve enough to get Farrell, but we'll improve enough just to stick it there in 5th. So I'm gonna switch gears over to the gold side. Austin, do you have a preferred gold driver if you know any of these people?
Ooh, we're gonna call out your boy early. Get that curse on him. My
Which one is
fellow Honda enthusiast, Mr. Lucas himself. The man who has the power to bid it for himself.
According
And
to the
for
last
you.
2 races, he hasn't. 40 seconds ahead of both drivers in the last 2 races. So if he gets a good start and a good launch, he technically could just hold everyone else behind him if he drives clean.
And that is the trick, isn't it? Something these guys can haul out pretty good, but I'd be interested to see if they can get their racecraft up a little bit. They get those elbows out, but I think for the most part they keep it clean. That was kind of my experience with D3 last season. Everyone kept it really clean, but hopefully, Lucas as he goes wide. Oh, I don't know if did he invalidate on this one.
That was a warm-up lap, so that was their out lap, so that won't count.
Oh, thank goodness.
But this lap will count for him. Not going to have the best of launches down the stretch initially. So
yeah, something I found out as well is you can invalidate on the lap after by going wide there. I had a great call the other day.
We will stay on board with Lucas on your main screen.
I've got our points leader Ryan Passage in the pip, so these 2 are the drivers to watch for this race and probably the rest of the season.
Because when we hit the standings, we will kind of touch on them as they're kind of in a far apart battle as Lucas invalidates his lap right there. So we'll go on over to Steven Sarver, the target car, setting his first lap out here. Or 717. A little Audi brother probably doesn't feel too hot, but he seems to be controlling the car nicely right now, but it's probably banker lap time for the time being.
And just looking at the silver times, I don't know if they struggled or they just don't look at this track, but there's a lot of gaps. So
yes,
it looks like the gold has a big opportunity here to snatch some places.
Gap from P1 to P2 in terms of silver is 1.2 seconds. That's Burtis to Miller. And then from 2nd to 3rd is another 5/10 gap. That's Miller to Santer. And Sarver's just going to stick his car P3 with a 47.1. He is a 2nd and 6/10 off of Burtis, the silver driver. He still currently leads, but those tires should be getting warmed up now on this very, very hot track, very, very hot day. So
Passage puts it P2 and is only 5/10 off pole first lap.
And he's already improving massively.
He is.
Already almost 8. He was 8/10 up right there. Didn't really get the best exits out of that turn.
And that, Taylor, is what we call commentator's curse.
Exactly. But
glad it's you and not me this week.
Yeah, you hit him back to back 5 times last week.
I did.
Are we keeping a tally for the curse today?
Yes.
I mean, last week we had to in terms of South Africa because every single person Bailey mentioned or we had on his screen instantly crashed out.
Amazing.
It was bad juju. That was the epitome.
Ooh, was that a Pilsner I heard?
Might have been.
It's more of a latte.
Latte? I don't know about that one. If I know Bailey, that will not be a latte. As you are looking in your picture-in-picture, you can see Passage still 5/10 up. We'll actually put him in front of Burst if he can hold what he's doing right now, but not even by a 10th. And he is kind of teetering on that line right now.
And it is the 2 Ferraris right now who are leading the pack.
Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, 2 Audis are up in the top 10 as well, which spells hope for us.
It does. It's so good to see.
But even some D1 guys were struggling in the practice race yesterday. I know Jeffries was having a hard time with his Audi because I was falling right behind him, and I'm a D2.
And there's Lucas.
Yep.
And Passage takes provisional pole.
Passage P1 currently gap of 3/10, just about 45.1. That will obviously be smashed into oblivion. The speeds that Passage can do, I believe he already set a 44 in the practice lobby before this, so he's already all warmed up. Lucas in P3 right behind him, but by about 4/10, 45.5. So
Ooh, just invalidated.
Casting curse. So gets another lap to kind
Another
of
one.
warm up your tires or cool them down, no matter what you need to do. But he needs to build the gap to whatever car is in front of him there. That is the car of Meyer. Lorenzo looks to be flying on his lap, almost 5/10 up coming out of, I'm going to call it Death Corner, but that is turn 4.
I would say that's all the corners, but that's just me.
We drive the Audi, so every corner is Death Corner for us. But that one specifically, if you hit it wrong, whether the curb is wrong or something doesn't hit right, like that car going off into the woods on your screen.
Yeah, I don't think that was the racing line.
Yeah, that's a new one. So
maybe he's following the Dadmins and had racing line on, and for some reason the green line was just taking him off track. Not really sure. We should see if Doug can help us investigate on that one.
Yes.
Yes.
So Lorenzo will be dipping out to fix that car since it just went into the woods, it looks like. So we'll see him a bit later. Steven Sarver was up on his time. Too bad it was invalidated. So he will have to go back around again and try to build that 7/10 gap up well. And the gap from currently P1 to P10, top 10, 2.2 seconds. It's a massive gap in terms of qualifying within the top 10.
It is. But qualifying is qualifying. Racing is where it matters.
That is true, as this track is very known for its nice turn 1 incidents, and if it's not in turn 1, then it's going to be in turn 2, where people get just enough ballsy to send it, but not enough for turn 1.
Now, we don't usually talk strategy about races because with D4, it's more of just about being clean. Do you think there is strategy at this race with it being so hard to overtake?
Well, you want to qualify the fastest, and maybe I should throw this one over to Austin, but in my terms, qualify the best, get as many jumps as you can, and start without destroying someone, and you can pretty much keep anyone on this track behind you if you have the power. Austin might have a different situation for that if he wants to share.
Yeah, it's all about clean air. If you're getting stuck behind someone and you can't pass them, just trying to have that clean pit, which is what kind of differentiates these guys. I know I was practicing with a couple of fellow admins on pit, like just lining it up, making sure your like auto engine isn't you're actually doing the manual control, and you can jump 2 or 3 places pretty easily. So if you're stuck behind two people, you have a nice clean pit stop. Boom.
I am an auto engine user, so.
Auto, oof.
Oh yeah. But I don't get jumped, surprisingly. I probably will get jumped at this track because I am just terrible at it. But you were watching Sarver putting his car P5 now, so almost within 1 second to P1. Ryan Passage just starting his new lap, going a little bit green. And if I'm not mistaken,
that Lucas did jump up to P2 and is now 3.5 tenths behind Passage, but is up. They are both up on their laps. So
Ruzik looks like he is about to set one of his best laps, and that should bump them up to P6, just above Butler. My calculations are correct. Yep, just above him. Puts it in with 46.2. No one really touching Passage's time, but he is flying as well, but slow as Lucas, as I can see on my board, and you can see him in your pip, the player window in your bottom right hand corner. Absolutely flying. 7/10 up as Rodrix puts his car P2 for 45.3.
Great lap, Jan Rodrix.
Missed them.
But Lucas right now is on an absolute heater of a lap.
He's on a rampage.
Yes, he is.
Ryan Passage is trying to make up just as much time as well. He is almost 4/10 up, which will give him probably just enough breathing room to Lucas. And as I say that, Lucas is just absolutely destroying his time.
And the curse.
I don't do it. He just has
do
one
it.
turn left. He just has
He's
one turn
got
left.
this. He's gonna bank
Yes, he
this
does.
one.
Invalidates.
What a
What?
lap.
Who
It was
said
so
that?
close. That was pretty close.
Great lap.
As a
Huge.
44
That is a great lap.
5, 6/10 up from Ryan Passage. Well, that's time is about to go down as he will set his new fastest time, and they will be 2/10 apart as Passage sets at 44.7. Behind them, Roderick's 45.3. That is a 5/10 gap between P2 and P3. That is absolutely insane.
2 heater of a laps from 2 fast guys that probably shouldn't be in D4. But that's not for me to decide. I'm just here to enjoy it.
Vanderhe is about to get into the mix, about to set his personal fastest lap, up by 5/10 right now, and really trying to hold in that line. And the McLaren does get a good launch, could take the exit wider, but it will improve. Doesn't go up a place, but it does put him about 200ths away from Burtis in P4. So minimal time to make just to gain that extra position could go a long way for Banderhi. Keep an eye on him as there are 3 minutes left in qualifying. So 2 laps max will probably come out. Rick Tony is crossing the line. They go P13 with 47.2. Have to slot in behind Santer. So we're seeing a lot of more silvers starting to get into the mix within the top 10, top 15 now. Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
That's up for your interpretation, I would say.
I mean, we'll definitely see some more aggressive racing between gold and silver, because silver really needs to squeeze out every little bit of point that they can get. Because if you finish within the top 5 as a silver, but your general silver finish position is out of the top 10, that is massive points to put on the board.
Big time, especially with how fast these guys are in D4. Any points is good points.
Essentially, as we're watching Butler right now, about 3/10 up on his time, following Ruzik, I believe, right there. Nope, that is Aoki. Aoki is going to bring this car into the pits. Butler actually bleeds all that time away that he just made up. Not sure if it was because Aoki was there, but he will be able
Lucas just loses it on the exit. It's probably going to be his qualifying.
He can get around fast enough. He can have one more lap. Same with Butler. He just crossed the line. If he has a good 146 lap here, he should be able to get around in time to set another one. But he doesn't look to be improving on his time at all. Actually, he is just absolutely bleeding away time currently. So we will check back in with them as Sky is going on a pretty fast lap. 5/10. I believe you have that in your picture-in-picture window.
Oh, I did, and then I switched because you were in it. But yeah, Zach Sky is about the only one who's got major improvements right now. Unda is another one with improvements.
Lucas is off and his qualifying is over, it seems.
Practicing for the race.
Yeah. That's how it happens. Zach Sky, P10. 46,
Great lap, Zach.
7.
Great lap.
Even though you're in P10, great lap. It's a top competition right now is scorching.
It is.
Lucas will get another lap in, but have those tires cooled down enough to render them usable. Find out when he starts his next lap as Banderhi just kind of breaking even on his time. He needs minimalistic time game here. Just 200ths of a second should get him that next position up. This is his final lap.
And just looking through these finishing order, we got I was talking bad about the Audi, but we got 2 Audis in the top 6 right now.
You know, Sarver shared me his Hungary setup, so I guess I have to try it now.
I guess so. Proof is in the picture.
And there he finishing off his lap, should be able to jump this 4th spot if he doesn't bleed out too much time, and he bled out too much time. Actually looks like he invalidated. But he will stay P5, or they will stay P5. Roderick's on an absolute flyer. Was 3/10 up, see if he can gain that back. Rounding out the final corner, and they will probably just stick it P3 here.
He needed about 5/10 to improve any positions, but P3 is not a bad start.
Nope, not bad at all on this track, as Lucas is just going to pull off to the side put his car. No one else really improving on the track. Meyer actually.
As
into the
you
distance.
as you ruin that for him.
No, he's still going.
He lost about a tenth and a half there.
Nope, he's good. Look at him go. Look at that time gain. 4/10, now 5/10. Could potentially jump a few people.
He's blistering right now.
Yep, he will jump a few people if he can hold this together. He is almost 8/10 up now, and that would render him probably up within the top 15 here, or 16th position. As long as he can hold it together in that Audi, probably having the issues that me and you will be having tomorrow. Yes, he loses 3/10 on that exit. Not really holding it together. Actually riding the curb through that turn, which is not what you want to do. They will put this car P19. So
he's just dancing for us at the end.
Yep, I think he figured it. So your top 5: Lucas, Conceros, Ryan Passage, Jan Roderick, Bertus, I can't remember first names off the top of my head, and Banderhi. All round out your top 5. While we wait for them to warm up and do their thing, let's go over to the team standings. Bailey, take it away.
Awesome. I can definitely take care of that. A lot of shakeups in the team standings, a lot of outliers. Number 1 team right now is Carolina Reapers, consisted of Rusick and Aoki. I haven't heard about them much, but they've been consistent enough to hold the top position. And then you got the Scuderia Skydust with Zach Sky and Milo Green sitting in 2nd place. Right behind them, only 16 points off. And then you got the Boba Boys in the Honda, which is Lucas and Menzies. Lucas been hard carrying, I would say at least. But Menzies has been there to help Lucas. So they've been racking in some points the last 2 races. They're only 90 points off the top. Then you got Ronan Racing in P4 with your leader, Ryan Passage and Jack Ronan. And then rounding out the top 5, we got Baseline Racing with Mr. Steven Sarver and Jan Roderick, who is starting 3rd. So it could be big points for those guys and everybody in front of them. So we will see which team is the quickest.
Speaking of the drivers of the teams, we'll hop over to the driver standings championship here. Kind of surprising on what we got going on.
We do, and Ryan Passage, even though Lucas has had 2 back-to-back wins, Lucas had a great first 2 good races of the season and set him up pretty good. And although Lucas has won, Passage has been there on his tail to make up any points, as the gap is 46 points with Ryan Passage leading and Lucas in 2nd. And then Shackleford sitting in 3rd, been consistently there for big points, so that's good. And then you got Rusick is 1 point off of him, actually, so that is up for grabs. And then Ken Miller is the leading silver driver right now, who is actually in 5th in the entire D4 division, so he is going to be looking for some big points to carry the momentum.
He is leading by a very big whopping margin next to the Chris Burtis in P16 right now. I believe that's over 100 points, or just shy of 100.
Which is still a lot.
It's a lot. It's practically a race win in terms of silver division, because silver doesn't really get into that top 5 area all that much. So Chris wins a race somehow. He does jump ahead essentially of Miller if he has a pretty bad race. If not, it closes the gap substantially.
It does.
So cars taking off on their warm-up laps. Gonna get all those tires and brakes all warmed up, although it probably won't be that hard to do. 26 degrees Celsius in the air, 35 degrees Celsius on the track. Very hot, very jumbled. Try to keep you active throughout the race. We'll try to catch every yellow. Sorry if we can't. We'll try to get every battle. Sorry if we can't. Start of the race will obviously be focused more towards the front and the mid-pack on the picture-in-picture. The front will be focused on the main screen. Austin, it's your first time casting a race. You excited?
Oh yeah, we pumped.
That sounded very exciting.
You guys ready for some? Well, I was ready for my next bit. Is you ready for some fun little trivia as we round out the most boring lap?
Yes.
It's the worst lap of the entire race right now.
It takes
you're just dragging your brakes, getting your car warmed up. But so we were talking about overpowered cars on this track.
Right.
I looked up the track records for this. What GT3 car do you think has a track record? It was set in 2020.
If you say the Audi, I might off myself.
I have a feeling it's the Audi.
Funny enough, it's a Mercedes.
Oh wow!
More fun
Chonky.
engine. Yeah, the big chonker.
Both.
Also interesting, mirrored by the Formula One track record.
It's
Lewis
Lewis Hamilton.
Mr.
Yep.
Mr. W.
Sir
Luck.
Lewis.
Sir,
is-
Sir,
Get it right.
excuse me.
Yes.
But actually, it's kind of so I think I was looking at like Apex Online, like a couple other really sweaty ACC groups and things like that to see like the fastest times that are possible in ACC, and people are putting in just some nuts times. I think the fastest I saw was a 141.4.
Yeah.
141.4.
Wow.
You won't be seeing that here tonight.
Yeah, we're not really seeing that, but
D1 maybe.
in real life, they're about a second and a half slower.
Wow,
Yeah, balancing.
It's a-
everything else. Come on.
big margin, but
Yeah.
this is a game, so we like to exploit here. Drivers
Yeah,
are
game
starting to
is
get
the
too
game.
wide. Game's the game. Sucks to suck, essentially. Drivers starting to go too wide, getting their final brake warming moments here. Lucas leading the pack, passage right behind him, going to be on the outside of the track, so heavily favored in starting position for Lucas. You really want that inside here. We are just about underway, and what really sucks for the back of the pack is they will most likely start on the turn. Very big gaps right now forming between P1 and P3 on the inside line.
And the guys in the back are still trying to figure out where they're going as
Yep.
these leaders are almost to the line. So
Yep, and we should go racing here any second. They are off. Lucas gets away. Very good passage, not having the best of starts, so that allows Rogers to come up on the inside. They're about touching, not going to be able to touch anyway. So very clean start out from the front runners so far into the heavy braking zone. 3 wide in the back, almost 4 wide. There is some touching, some scrubbing, but pretty clean all throughout the first turn. There's some wiggling I see between teammates in the back, side by side through turn 2. Burtis and Banderi very late on the brakes as Banderi actually outbrakes himself. Burtis will just take that position and run right through. There's collision in the backfield. I can't see who that is. Bailey.
it's just a little bit of bumping, nothing major. I couldn't tell who that was in the mid pack. Austin, did you happen to see who it was?
I'm watching the front. So
Oh, okay.
the jump.
I believe that was Butler and Sky getting into it
Yep,
together
That is
in
correct.
turn 2.
It looks like Zach Sky just either overshot his braking point.
And
or
Lorenzo's in the grass here. Heartbreaking for him. Everyone's just going to kind of slot right back in the line now. As again, not much overtaking on this track, but we are still with intense. Rigatoni, Lorenzo going side by side. Rigatoni taking too much of that curb. Still going to be able to get the jump and have the inside line for that turn. So Lorenzo has to slot right back in, almost exposing himself to Allen behind him. Side by side is now Allen and Aoki. Aoki, really fast driver, really wants to get by. Not going to be able to do so. Slot right back in some because you will have another chance back in turn 1 possibly if that slipstream isn't that strong. And your front runners just kind of calm down for the time being.
And unfortunately for Passage, he lost the position to Roderick on the
Meyer.
start.
Meyer has a moment. Lost a couple places in the penultimate corner.
Roderick's Passage and Lucas and Saris all up in the top 3, kind of breaking away from the pack now. The Passage is all over the back of Roderick's, really wants to get by him, just can't get a good enough exit to outrun the power of that Audi. So we'll just have to sit for now until we can find the right opportunity. As Lorenzo and Meyer are side by side now. Meyer actually going wide. Gonna have to forfeit that position over to Lorenzo. Good move by him. Meyer's actually looking back up on the inside. Not going to be late enough on the brakes for it. So Lorenzo just holds that position. Take it around for the lap. We do have a slow car in front who wasn't getting the best of exits. They are going to go too wide. Does Lorenzo and Kimball almost going too wide now. Meyer seeks his chances to go too wide on that death curb. Not very opportunistic of it, but Kimball is holding the inside of this long right-hander, is able to float outside, and choosing to not do that, to hold the inside into the chicane. Meyer out braking Kimball. Is going to be able to make it through. Actually, Kimball was going to have to give up the spot to Naoki as well, and Naoki is just going to jump Meyer. In the process, there is 2 contact between Meyer and Naoki, but they get along fine. Kimball not going to be able to get the job done, so Meyer will just run away and have to close the gap on Naoki, but that was some harsh contact between the 2 cars.
And as while all that was happening, something happened with the front 3 and invited Burtis and Benderhi into the battle as well, with Ken Miller on their tails as well.
Wow. It is all kicking off, and we are even 5 minutes into the race. But these gaps have kind of slowed down now, except for the front. We see a dive up in the front pack, most likely not, as Farrell is into the wall. It looks like contact between Farrell and Rigatoni, or is that Lorenzo? That is Lorenzo. Get a replay on that one for you. Just loses the handling into the wall. That is most likely damage, and Lorenzo definitely has damage after rear-ending that car. Terrible start to the race for him. Just gonna have to slot back in line. Get it done. So Lucas has started his charge forward of getting the biggest gap possible known to man. Already almost coming out to a second. Roderick's just barely holding on. Now I see Astro's a pretty banged up front there. What happened with Astro? Coming out of turn 1, it looks like wasn't on the brakes fast enough. Oh yeah. Well, maybe not.
Might have happened before.
Might have happened before, but they were really slow.
Oh, there it is.
Yep, right into the wall. That's heavy damage on the front. You see the hood kind of pop open. That will need to be fixed in the pits.
And Menzies is one of those guys who started from the back, is up to P25 already.
Now Myers looking on the inside to go for a dive on Naoki, but not able to outbrake him. Gonna have to hold right back, look for a shot down into turn 1, but he is all over the back of that Honda. That Audi really wants to go. Actually misses a braking point, invites Kimball to take the pass, and Kimball will say, "Thank you, sir. I will try to do that," but it's not going to happen. Myers going to be able to hold the inside of this turn. Kimball ends up going deep. Going to get a better run out into the front stretch. Try to get that slipstream on Meyer here. We'll stick with these 2, but it doesn't look like nothing's going to come from this. They will just slot back in line. What is happening down in your neck of the woods, Bailey?
Passage and Roderick's were actually side by side going down the straight.
Astro and McGuinness.
Yep, that's unlucky.
Yep.
Turn 1. We
Turn
knew we were going to
1,
have some carnage there.
It's like someone just didn't hit their brakes soon enough. McGuinness all over the back of Maselli. Hits his... Oh, actually, McGuinness gets rear-ended by Astral.
And
Really
he
wanted to
says,
get by.
"Thank you for the positions."
Essentially, so that will probably be reviewed post-race.
But yeah, back to the front. Passage and Roderick's were actually side by side going down the main straight, and Passage went for a fake move and actually caught Roderick's out and missed his braking point. But Passage had the power to bring it back and holds P2 still.
Leave Passage just holding P3.
Or Roderick's is P2, sorry. My bad. My apologies.
It is okay. Santer on the inside of Unda. Santer went too deep. Looks like he got squeezed. And looks like Unda and Santer do have a little bit of contact, the GT car and Nissan. Coming together, or the Mercedes. Santer just getting really late on the brakes. Unda trying to close that door really hard. Wasn't able to close it enough. Shepard is just going to capitalize from that, as Unda's now backwards. Oh, collision between Rigatoni.
That's a tough place to join.
Yeah, I mean, not really Unda's fault there. Rigatoni really wanted to get by, but just couldn't. Ends up knocking some cars around. Very awful situation, as I think I just saw a passage flash Roderick in the bottom, in the pit.
Ooh, Menzies just had a big dive. Seems to have pulled it off.
So as they can pull it off, he can keep the position.
Menzies is on the charge.
Yep, 20.
So Lucas, again on the run, setting his gap 1.3 seconds currently. I'm going to keep my eye on that one. We are on board with Menzies, checking out this battle.
Oh, and
It's a charge of the charges of the Hondas coming from the back. See if they can stay on track. High risk, high reward.
Very. Butler's going to go for the dive on Aoki into the chicane. Aoki actually breaks too late. Butler's going to be able to take this one on the outside. Aoki might lose his place to Sander as well. Going to be able to hold him off for one turn, but not going to be able to do so for the second. Aoki's just going to slide in right behind Sander. Here come Menzies. They want the best of it too, but not going to be able to do so. Got a little squirrely out there. Aoki on the charge back to Sander with that Honda engine. Sander in the McLaren obviously not having the best of power. Down to the heavy braking zone. Aoki's just going to hold back for the time being, but turn one might be their place. Good racing from both of these drivers.
Respectable through that chicane. Didn't think I would try to see some too wide right there, but hey, they did it. They didn't tap.
If you can keep it clean, it's a good pass. Unlike some of the other passes we've seen here today so far, but we're only 10 minutes in. It's fine. We have plenty of racing. Menzies now on the back of Aoki. Not going to go for the dive here. Actually, there's going to be a dive in the back on Patch. Unda not able to get late enough on the brakes, so Patch will just be able to drive this one through right around Unda. Menzies coming back on Aoki. Does have enough of a gap here to try to go for the dive, but we'll just slot right back in, and Aoki will keep that position for the time being. Now, a car I never expected to even get near the top 10, the Nissan GT R. Shepard driving at P12 right now all over the back of Farrell, so could potentially see some good points from the GTR cars. The Passage and Roderick's in your bottom right hand corner, still trying to go at it. Passage really wants by. I feel the second Passage gets that clean air past Roderick's, he will catch Lucas.
Yeah, because Passage does hold the fastest lap right now, and he's definitely being held up through these corners.
It looks like Menzies dropped back to position. I don't know if you saw that, Austin.
Yeah, mowed the lawn.
Oh.
Just had a little bit of a moment, and then was a very nice gentleman giving up the position, not causing an incident. Looks like Patch gave it back.
Yep.
So
Patch knows probably not his fight to take. So we'll just let him by. Try to maybe mimic their lines.
And Passage actually does pass Roderick's.
Wow, turn one.
It was turn one, the only overtaking spot.
So now watch on Passage to be on the charge towards Lucas. Try to take that win away from, as we are seeing Sky and O'Houlihan go side by side very briefly. O'Houlihan getting the move done. Sky trying to follow in behind him. Actually going to take this side by side here through the last turn. Not going to be able to hold it, but Sky will try to get the better run on O'Houlihan. They will have the slipstream down the front stretch, actually catching a little bit of that curb that might slow them down a little bit. It does end up going wide. They have the momentum here, sticking behind them. Waiting to see that nose poke out, and there's Sky goes. Going to be able to get right out in front. Actually have the later brakes as well. Can he hold it? He does. It will just continue straight on. Good pass by Sky.
And Kimball and Butler were side by side. They're switching braking positions, and both actually missed their braking points. So
yeah,
kind of a wash.
And actually invited Santer into the battle for Butler now. So keep an eye on these two as their gap out closes. As Farrell had a yellow flag incident, see what that issue was.
Oh, you would do that.
Yeah, I'm just better. It's fine. But
ooh, shots fired.
Well, I'm off, guys.
a little farther back, looks like a lot of gas out of the chicane.
Oh, no. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. We're gonna go back 30 seconds.
Drifting almost came in contact with the GTR, so it's out scot-free. Wow.
Oh, McGinnis and Allen coming together. McGinnis was going for a gap that wasn't there.
You hate to see it. We knew these races would be full. Reports as Maselli's actually hits the wall very hard. Guarantee has some damage there.
Passage already made up 7/10 on Clinceris in a matter of a lap.
Overcorrection sends the car into the wall. Hate to see it. Kimball and Unda, the battle we are looking at on your main screen now as the pack is trying to catch Aoki. But Menzies looks like they have the speed to come through Kimball and Unda, so keep an eye on this one. Lucas is pulling their gap ever so farther away, with Passage closing it in the 1.2 seconds currently, and Menzies is all over the back of Kimball now.
In your guys' opinion, what's the diciest part of this track?
It's got to be that middle chicane for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sausage
Hitting those
curves.
little orange, little turtle shell looking guys.
Yes, exactly.
You
That
take
could
it
be where
wrong.
your race could be over there potentially, depending
Yeah.
on which line you take.
If you take it wrong, then it's you're going off into the trees, as we saw Lorenzo do in qualifying. Or if you gas it too hard, you're spinning. Or if you're like me last season, you make it past that point, driving on the line, and all of a sudden a car appears on the apex and you absolutely T-bone it.
Oh, I remember that. That was brutal to watch.
So hopefully that doesn't happen again this season. For anyone.
I was watching some Hungary re-rushes on Formula One, and brings you back to Ferrari's Massa.
Oh, wow.
You guys ever
Yes.
see that
Felipe.
happen?
I can't say
Yes.
I have.
You guys know what happened to him in a qualifying session?
You go into the
I do.
trees.
He struck a suspension spring from Barrichello's Braun GP.
I do remember this.
Wow.
He got knocked unconscious
I do
driving
remember
a
this.
Formula One car up the turn,
Yep.
straight on, right into the barriers.
Well, I'm going to have to stop you right there because we are watching Menzies and Kimball going side by side in turn 2. They were side by side in turn 1. Kimball missing the absolute breaking point, which allows Menzies to come right through, but they are still side by side for this next turn. Kimball going to have to give up the spot. They won't have the momentum, so Menzies will just run away with this one. But that is a lot of time lost to Unda. The Menzies has their work cut out to catch that car again. We're now watching the battle between Farrell, Rigatoni, Meyer, Lobello, and Butler all together. All their gaps within 1 second. Picture in picture, focusing on the lead battle as that gap goes ever so slowly as Passage now closing it to 7/10.
And I think that Ferrari's got the edge on the straight there.
Indeed does, especially with the slipstream off that car. As Meyer is looking up on the inside, not going to do it. Lobello actually fancied their move on the outside on Meyer, gets the job done, and actually invites Butler into the mix for this fight. As Lobello is now going on Rigatoni, they had a bad exit out of the turn. Lobello missing the breaking point. Meyer coming back up on the inside. Lobello should hold this outside line, get the speed on them. Actually ends up going extremely wide, just joins in just in the nick of time behind Meyer, or in front of Meyer, and behind Rigatoni, trying to get that slipstream down to the main stretch. But that is a McLaren, so you won't have the best power, so Meyer's going to go diving down on the inside. Lobello is missing his breaking point.
Oh.
Meyer getting doored by, who was that? Lobello? I believe that
The
was
door
Lobello.
got absolutely
Or not Lobello.
shut on
That
him.
was Butler. Rigatoni.
He said, "Thank you, no soliciting."
In fact, we will just do a replay. Actually, we won't do a replay. We'll just see a fatal error on our screen. So
That is sad to see.
if you really focus and squint your eyes, it looks like the picture-in-picture is the full screen. So if you
It is. If you close one
Exactly.
eye and then slightly squint the other.
exactly. Very messy fight. Austin, did you see any of it? How did you see it?
All I see is Butler saying, "Thank you, avoided one. Appreciate it." It's the run of the Hondas from the back. killing it.
As you say that there's a Honda in the lead, so
Indeed. We're pulling the game right back up for you.
Ooh, Butler pulls a move. Rigatoni.
Green light, go, go, go.
You're back.
something happened to Alan here. So we can go back.
While you're
Oh.
watching Alan, I will watch Passage.
Too much flick. Too much
Ooh.
flick. Didn't hit the wall, so he's okay. Just lost a little bit of time.
We're watching Passage now come very close to Lucas here. 4/10 is the gap now. Pit window will be opening in about 6.5 minutes. Is that Menzies I see off?
Yeah, Menzies, I think, oversteered and didn't hit the wall, so I think he's okay. Just lost time as well.
The amount of good racing Menzies has had,
He just has to pass track patch for the third time.
they keep getting set back farther and farther and farther. But you know who's not getting set back? Ryan Passage. Gap is now 2/10 all over the back of Lucas right now. Menzies diving patch here. Should be able to hold it.
Patch basically just gave him the corner. Oh, and Farrell has a moment too. He's a yellow flag. Oh, and he spun it on the downhill left. Yep, I think he missed his breaking point.
We'll be on board with Ryan Passage here. Coming up on Lucas. Should have the slipstream down this front stretch and the engine to beat out that Honda. But not enough gap to necessarily make the dive, so they will go around once more, but they get very close to that turn. Because Sarver now has a yellow flag. Looks like they had an issue.
Hate to see it in the Audi.
This is what we were talking about, as the Audi is not a fun car, but it looks like he just caught too much curb, and that might be
Oh.
some heavy right front damage.
Hopefully not a lot, because he is running in a good position.
Not what you want to see, but the battle we all want to see. Passage and Lucas just need to go side by side once, and we can finally see Lucas get into a fight with a car.
At least he's not 10 seconds up by now.
That is true. Well, Ryan Passage is very good at this track. Actually holds the fastest lap right now with a 45.2. This Ferrari really showing prowess in terms of the Honda driven by Lucas. What else do we have going on around track, Austin?
We're watching. I mean, like I said, the March of the Hondas from the back. It's we're
Whoa,
up at
what
Menzies.
happened? What happened?
Uh-oh.
I think his game crashed.
Going off into the woods again. I saw him.
He drove himself all the way to Belgium.
He's getting ready for next week at the Glen.
I guess
There's a
so.
long
It was
way
one
to
of
go
the.
and to get
It
off
was
early.
the GTR that was running up there. I think he just kind of lagged out of the server.
Said, see you guys. I'm going to the 1300 Thermal Hot Springs in Hungary. Coming to you from the hot tub stream. It's your voice.
I knew I was gonna get slipped in here somehow.
You knew it was coming.
We're about to see some complications for the front pack as they are approaching a whole group of blue flags here in front. So, see how Lucas can maneuver through them, as they both will try to go past one here. Passage not able to get past him. That is losing a ton of time to Lucas. Actually gets in the way again. They are allowed to take that line, just have to let the car by within one lap. Passage shaking his fist in the air, most likely.
And maybe a finger, but.
Your finger. He's actually going to try. I think he's just going to slide in behind this blue flag. So is Lucas up ahead. Actually, there's a crash right in front of him. Not sure if there was contact there or if there was just a normal.
Yeah, you show it.
Spin it.
I don't want to show it anymore because you're always doing it.
Okay, boy. It looks like Connor just spun it. No contact there, so.
Well, I guess that's a way of moving out of the way.
I guess so. Not a lot of gap lost either. The gap is still there between Lucas and Ryan. But Lucas is still held up by this one blue flag of EEL, looks like.
We had a four-way battle for P15, I believe. P14.
So an EEL getting on the grass, actually almost losing control, might have forced Passage to back out a little bit. And Passage, oh! EL almost getting to the back of Lucas. Able to hold off the brakes, just missed the braking point. Glad to see this battle, it did not get corrupted. So we will check back in with them a little bit later. We'll watch that gap as you are on board with the Myers, Santer, and Aoki battle. How's that going?
It's quite shaky.
Santer just makes a move on him.
Santer absolutely sends it on Dan Meyer.
Ooh, goes a little, breaks too much to make that apex.
And it opens the door
And
for
gives up
Aoki
a
to go
move.
underneath.
Slips right in. One thing I want to see, if we're going to get to see it tonight, is in the practice race, I found out you can actually pass in the pit entry. I saw a bold gentleman make a move and get a double overtake.
Really?
A double overtake before, you get ghosted in the pit line, so...
We not have... Is there not a rule against that?
There's not a rule against it. I inquired, and we'll see if we pull the move on you
There
guys
is
tomorrow.
McGinnis taking a big hefty dive on Unda, actually missing the braking point, makes contact with Unda, and will spin it out into the grass. Very tough stuff for McGinnis. There he was running a very good race. Let's see it come to an end as Rigatoni loses it.
Rigatoni, no.
The pack of three coming up on this wreck, as well as see the damaged car of Rigatoni. No one really around them, so...
And Passage and Lucas are coming up on another set of blue flags.
Really hate to see it. And there he is all over the back of Rodrix as the pit window does open now. And there he does look like he has the run on Rodrix here. But that McLaren engine is no match for the Audi, especially when in a slipstream of a blue flag. Bruel, blue flag not backing down fully. We'll give the spot up in mid-corner. Passage closing the gap. 0.2 seconds here.
Sarver's first in the pits.
Oh, almost touching. So we should start seeing the back half of the pack kind of flutter into the pit. The front half will probably squeeze out every last second they can get before they go.
Yeah, they're all piling in right now.
Or we might see a bold move here because there is a decent sized hole right now between the pit window in terms of our front runners. So if Lucas continues on, Ryan Passage could possibly pit, try to find some clean air and just undercut him. It's where that strategy kind of comes into play we were talking about earlier, but it's all about what the front driver does first. And if anyone recognizes the map has a very, very open gap on where you would most likely come out.
And that car we saw go off in the grass there was actually Shepard, and he's actually rejoining now. So he's
Double.
actually 3 laps down. So
Double
we'll see.
yellow flags. What happened here? Both front runners didn't opt to go into the pits. Santer and Sarver getting into each other out of the pits, causing a collision. Sarver's able to keep his car out of the wall. Actually, gains it up a little bit. So might be some damage on that. Maybe not too hefty.
And Alan's got some very bad side damage on his car.
That's gonna take some time.
I don't know what happened with him, but it did not look good.
You happen to see it, Austin?
Now we're just watching this big train entering the pit lane. They're all losing a bunch of time if they... Maybe could have squeezed in... Yeah, they could have squeezed in more laps there.
Any updates on the board? Any penalties to hand out? No, we've gotten kind of the first batch of pit done.
Unda stopped go 30.
Oh,
Looks like.
not a good sign. And has been running pretty good today.
Yeah.
Passage and Lucas are getting held up behind Aoki, the blue flag right now. And this is where Passage probably should have taken that pit last lap to come out in that very open air unless he has some strategy that might take him off of that as Aoki rejoined the track right beside Passage, almost knocking him off. Good job by Passage to avoid that, but it does lose time to Lucas here. See if anyone opts in for the pit. I doubt that they would now at this point in time. Might just go until the very last second.
For him.
Both front runners opting out, going to the pit lane as well as Aoki. So we do have a car joining the track now in front of Lucas. That is another blue flag, and this is why you would have wanted to pit a little bit earlier so you don't run into this issue as Bruel is getting in the way again of Lucas and Passage. Passage is going down on the inside of Bruel. Blue flag will have to get that position up. Passage will probably lose some time, but so will Lucas. We'll just kind of get on the way. Seems like a game of chicken of who's going to go first.
Or Passage could just be right in the coattails of Lucas and just going to match him whenever he does and get the pit lane jump.
I know Lucas has been practicing his pits. He's down to pretty quick, getting it right on the marks instead of having the the shame of
he
seeing
actually
your car.
messes
He
it
has
up
a
in the
moment.
chicane, and now they're side by side going through the next turn. There's collision.
no!
Lucas closed the door too hard. Collision with Passage. Passage will just take that position as there was contact between the two cars. Not sure if he will be willing to give that one back, as it looked like he had the racing line there, but Lucas just
What a
closing the door.
guy.
He will give it back
Wow,
just in
What a
case.
guy.
But you hate to see it if there's any damage on those cars right now. That you don't want to have that, especially coming up to your pit stop here.
No. What a sight. What a sight.
We are not liable to say who has at fault there, as that
No,
will
we are
probably go
not.
straight to the steward's office. As we see Ryan, Passage, and Lucas coming into the pits, take a little breather after having some contact.
Oh, and
maybe fix some
Menzies.
damage.
Menzies is around.
Menzies. Looks like
Oh,
so
he
is
lost
Butler.
the back end. He lost the back end. Oh, and he smokes the wall. That looks like some rough front end damage.
A lot of the issues coming through in terms of handling, as Brule is parked on the side of the track for whatever reason.
I
Unsure
think
what
he's
happened there.
just showing off his livery right now.
Yeah. Going off the livery actually gets it going again. Stops again.
Lucas out of the box.
Yeah, Passage was sat there for a while.
I bet that Passage has probably had a little bit more damage or a little bit more refueling to do than Lucas. But if we know Passage's speed, he should catch right back up, and these blue flags are now about to cause trouble for him as well. Shepard in the way, should just let him by here. But if not, that will spell trouble, and it doesn't look like he looks too keen on getting that one back. The Passage will be forced to follow behind Shepard. Lucas, Shepard lets him right by. Lucas gonna now have a 2.6 gap to Passage.
And that contact between the front two have brought Roderick's back into the battle here, only 3 seconds off.
It has. Well, those are two fast cars. We still have people that need to pit, as I saw Yellow and Shackleful. Looks like they just spun out. Now Banderi leads this race, but we'll have to pit within the next 2 minutes 50 seconds, or else that would be a fat penalty to add on at the end of the race.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that. I think it's 120 seconds of penalties,
Yeah.
so very brutal.
Looks like they will be going around probably one more time, and then pitting there. Kimball getting out of the way for Ruzick. Rigatoni and Patch are going side by side into the final turn. Patch holding that inside line very well. Rigatoni is able to just outpower the car currently. Does squeeze off Patch just enough to get the run out, and we'll have that position. Patch slots right back in, possibly here to go and make a dive. up on the inside. Patch will just stick behind Rigatoni. Hold out that position in P19.
Passage just lost a lot of time. He's 3.5 seconds off of Lucas, so I don't know if he's having tire issues or he got stuck behind Shepard for a little too long.
That game behind Shepard didn't help, as it looks like Lucas is now coming up on the back of their teammate here.
He actually just passed him, I believe. Yep.
You are correct, Amundo. Meyer now into the pit. One of our final pitters. Closest battle we have on track right now, Patch and Rigatoni, as we are just over 26 minutes left in the race. So now's the time when everyone starts cooling down. Look in about 15 minutes for everything to start picking right back up. That gap between Passage and Lucas will close down because Passage is just an absolute menace around this track. So Austin, first D1, D4 race, first casting it. How's is it everything you could have hoped for?
And more.
Love it.
Everything and more. Shout out to Race Control for behaving tonight for me.
You see
I'll do the best
Ruzik,
we can.
Ruzik and Baderi are coming into the pits now. That will promote Lucas Passage back to P1 and P2. Guy coming out of the pits amidst a battle.
Ooh.
Bello overtaking the blue flag of Rosa. Sky will want to get in this, but Rosa is having none of it. Guy going down on the inside. Good let by Rosa.
When Benderhi and Rusick coming out right behind each other, and Rusick actually
Window is now closed.
just in front of Benderhi.
The window has just closed now. We'll get this Rusick Benderhi battle on screen for you. Honda v McLaren engine. Not a big enough gap to go for a dive or anything, but enough to just kind of hold it. But that is our closest battle on track currently. Other than Lorenzo coming up on Aoki, be in the bottom right. Give you updates on the gap between Passage and Lucas. If not, you can look up in the top left-hand corner of your screen. See the leaderboard on your left-hand side, so you really see the gap between any car that you would like.
Lorenzo trying to go for a move here.
Oh, he's
goes
going for it.
defensive. See, can he make the apex? Oh, that's a beautiful overtake.
Aoki on the switchback whoop might have the run down here to turn 2. That looks like too big of a gap to even
Door is
do anything.
closed.
Slot right
Honda.
back in, try to get him back again on the front stretch as Hungary does it. The gap between Banderi and Rusick is slowly fading away as that McLaren is not liking the dirty air of that Honda. I don't know what got into Lucas, but he is absolutely blasting off the space right now. Building that gap now up to 4 seconds. Might have been blue flags in there, but
When Lorenzo is off,
no.
yikes, that's a big one. I think he just overshot his braking point there before the uphill right.
If so many spins, actually gives Butler the P12 place while we were watching that replay. And Allen on Harris here. Oh, the GT car just not looking very stable through that very fast turn. Actually ends up going off into the grass and giving the place to Allen and Brule. So tough stuff for Harris, trying to find a good place to rejoin. Sadly, that's never the case here on Hungary. If you get turned in one of those turns, it is a rough time getting it back.
It is, and with a lot of cars spread out right now, it's kind of hard to find a place to rejoin.
He has been there. He is closing the gap back to Ruzik again. Still 1 second out, but just enough. Might be able to get the slipstream down the stretch to outpower the Honda. But Benderi does not look like they will be catching Ruzik. They do mess up that fast sweeping turn, so even more time bled away there.
While that was going on, Passage brought the time down within, I think, a second and a half. Oh, it's coming down even more.
Yeah, what happened? Lucas in
Something
the
happened to
pits.
Lucas.
He has a drive-through penalty.
Back limits.
Yes.
Hate to see it. So that automatically promotes Ryan Passage to your race leader right now. It's Labella and Farrell are now getting on with a P15 and P16. Labella almost going to the back of Farrell, actually going to poke his nose out to the outside. We'll have the outside line here. Should just let Farrell go through. They do. Coming up to another long right-hand corner. Still not going to be able to get the job done. Holding in, switching back actually, coming up on the inside. Not going to be able to get it done either. Really wants past Farrell. They're wasting time battling here. And they should just be waiting for the front stretch. But Labella really wants past Farrell. Feels that they're obviously faster than the other car in front of them.
And Lucas came out in 6th, so he's got a lot of driving to do to make up some positions.
Anyone can do it. Lucas can, our 40-second gap leader the past 2 races. Although this track might be the death of him. Let's see, Menzies has a yellow flag. What happened there? Actually gonna be able to let their teammate by.
Oh. Yeah, Allen just missed his breaking point, went to the back of Menzies.
Hate to see it.
Menzies looks like the target today for everybody.
It might just be the livery, you know. I
It
haven't had the
could
best
be.
of luck, you know, drive through for Lucas, so.
Oh no.
And Ferrero and Labello got into each other there.
Labella
Coming
was
down
just
into turn
too
1.
eager to pass.
Labello really going for that dive very far back.
Oh,
Ferrero
and
just closing the door. Missed
Labella
the
just
braking
gets in
point.
another accident.
Oh no, what happened to him?
I think I think it was a blue flag or something like that.
You
Comes
see it
down
in
on
the
him.
picture.
Oh no.
That does look to be Rigatoni. It is not a blue flag. 'Cause they are actually still battling on track right now, and it actually brought Patch into play here. As Passage is approaching all of them, so Passage should have a fun time trying to maneuver his way through this. Might open the door for Roderick. Also, you've been watching very intently. Who's your star racer right now currently?
Been watching Lucas shave down his time to Benderi 2 seconds on about last half a lap.
See how he can do fending, trying to overtake a car. He's used to defending against them, so see what happens there when the gap closes just enough.
You guys think it's easier to chase or defend?
At this track? Or in
Yeah.
general? This track, it's easier to defend.
Yeah. But what position do you want to be in? If you're
Definitely
First?
Pacer. Definitely.
Me personally,
like-
you know, I kind of want to win.
Yeah, well,
It's
you
all
can
about the
win
chase,
either
though. It's all about the
position.
chase. It
Exactly.
keeps
There's
you
so much less
motivated.
pressure. You just
I
get in
mean-
that zone. You just pump in lap after lap after lap. All of a sudden, the guy who was in front of you lost that 5-second gap and is now doing whatever he can to make sure you don't pass. So the pressure is on him.
See
Or
Rigatoni
her.
actually coming up
Say
to
that.
Labello. Labello looks like he had not a fun time in turn 1 there. Rigatoni's going to be able to try to get the drive on him down into turn 2. Looking for the outbreak. Not going to be able to do it. Patch is now all up in this battle as well. Labello holding off Rigatoni and Patch for the time being. Sorry to cut you off there, but that was happening. As Patch actually might look up on the inside here of Rigatoni. Does on the outside. Gonna let Rigatoni through. Kind of, hey, I'm here notice for the rest of the lap. sorry to cut you off. But yes, I'd personally want to lead the race and just be an absolute wide man at this track. But you want to be a chief.
How about the mental game?
Exactly.
This late in the race, I feel like I put more consistent laps in if I'm chasing someone. You're more focused.
I mean, that is true. If you do have someone coming up on you at the very end and you've just been hot lapping the entire time, it might mess with your head a little bit.
Exactly. But speaking of chasing and defending, just looking at some big position gainers right now, Labello the most with 16 positions gained, with Aoki with 13 as well. And then we got a couple losers here with Unda lost 9 and Allen also lost 9.
8. And there he's closing the gap on Ruzik ever so slowly. I see you're getting that battle between the three-way of Labello, Rigatoni, and Patch.
I am indeed.
Everyone's really taking the last turn kind of white curb on the inside for whatever reason. To my knowledge, that kind of just slows you down, even more of a possibility to spin you out.
Your knowledge is greater than mine.
I mean, if you think about it, if you watch F1, right? You watch F1.
Do I?
You even drive the cars from time to time. You know, if you take that curb, if you take your curb, you're done for.
That is true, but you got to think it is an F1 car. These GT3 cars handle curbs a lot differently than those F1 cars.
That is, but generally, I know these white curbs aren't the greatest in terms of traction. But
Just
maybe
sounds
I'm
like a
missing
skill
something.
issue.
How about we bring our resident expert, because, you know, they won the D3 championship last season. What do you think?
Well, it just really comes down to the track construction. You know, when they built this track in 86 for the 86 first Iron Curtain Grand Prix behind the USSR, it took them 8 months to build this track.
Pretty fast.
Foundation, the bones aren't great.
I mean, pretty fast time to set up a track, so can't
And
really
also,
expect that much.
I would just like to point out that Pov has said in chat, you're going to be chasing tomorrow after you spin out. So,
I definitely will be.
just to put that in your head. That was to
Nope.
Austin.
That's so.
I mean, that's a
From Pop.
guaranteed. That's
From
a
Pop.
guaranteed. He'll be there with me. Don't worry.
Oh. He did actually say after that, I'll be chasing you after I spun out.
Yeah.
Good banter, good banter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honda boys. It's just Honda things, you know.
you can lump the Audi in there as well, as the gap growing in front to 10 seconds, coming down a little bit, but still up in that 10-second range. We're watching Benderi closing the gap on Ruzik ever so slightly. Lucas now coming up on the back of them. This two-way battle about to turn to a three-way battle and get really spicy here soon.
And I mean, we keep talking bad about the Audi, but Jan Roderick's right now is running
I
a
don't want to talk about it.
decent race in P2 here. He's kind of in no man's land with a 10-second gap in front. And, oh
Yep,
my god!
you had to curse him, didn't you?
No, Jan, I am so sorry. What am I doing?
Had
I
to
was
curse
just
him.
so happy to see him up there in that car. But that brings Burtis in
as-
for the battle.
Yeah, as you're talking, Lucas and Benderi all over the back of Ruzik, really trying to find a way all around each other, actually almost bumping into each other, coming up on the death turn, as I like to call it. Very big battles. Burtis has his door wide open for Roderick, and it looks like we'll get that move done and over with.
There he gets
Easy peasy.
collected.
Oh,
They have a
And
little
there
door.
he's actually spinning as well. Gets collected. Lucas just moving him out of the way. On
And
to the
Burtis
next one.
overtook Roderick, so Roderick is now down to P3.
All kicking off. We're not even within the final 10 minutes. Lucas missing his breaking point there. 2 seconds. Almost 3 now to Ruzik in front. They closed the gap before. Let's see if they can do it again. Sarver, who's closing the gap to Miller. Wait, they can have a battle here shortly.
And Burtis running P2 is actually the provisional leader for the silver division right now. So big points for him
That is
with the next
huge
person
points.
and Ken Miller in P7 currently.
Is I believe those two are actually in the quote-unquote title battle for their driver championship for silver division, although it is about, like we said, just under a 100-point gap between the two, as we're gonna go on board with Lorenzo on Meyer here, coming up on the inside, not gonna be able to get the move done. Meyer, can he stick it? He does, just barely. Renzo almost losing the car into the wall. Is going to still go side by side down to this corner. Outbreaks Meyer, holds the inside. Will take that position nice and cleanly. And Meyer will slot right back in behind him. Finally, some clean racing. Is that too soon?
It might have been.
Okay.
Still got 11 and a half minutes left.
That is true. Lucas now closing the gap to Ruzic. 7/10 now. Watch this on your main screen as I see a battle form between Shackelford, Lorenzo, and Meyer. E9 happening right now. Kind of want to stick with Lucas, see how his comeback drive's going as Ryan passes just ever so slightly building a lead. Lucas all over the back of Ruzic, not going to be able to get the dive done in any of these turns. We'll just have to follow through till turn 1. Really up in there, just wanting to get by. Not able to do so. Ruzic's taking a tight line. Lucas taking a more looser line here for turn 1. Coming down to the front stretch, Lucas holds it. We'll have this slipstream Honda on Honda action here. Can they catch though? Doesn't look like anything will happen this time around, as Lucas will have to get all over the back of that car again.
We got bad news for Shackelford. It's a drive-through.
Oh no, that's
He's
probably
having a
another
great
try.
race.
Another P9 runner. Tainted by the drive-through. Probably has track limits somewhere. As I saw, I believe that was Unda who was spun out on the apex.
And just watching the bonnet cam of Lorenzo right now behind Shackelford. Shackelford is drifting almost every corner. Oh, as Lorenzo almost goes into the back of Shackelford and has to take avoiding action, almost loses it himself.
Speaking of drifting, almost drifted the car into the barrier there.
And Shackelford will serve his penalty.
Yeah, he will have at least 3 laps to do so, and 3 laps will probably take you to the end of the race, so no need in trying to battle and lose time there. Lucas trying to hold on to the back of Ruzic, as Sarver is now coming up on Ken Miller. Try to pass him to get some extra points in the championship.
And Butler
This
just
Lucas
peeked
going
at
for an
Hunter.
absolute menacing dive on Ruzic. We'll get it done, but that was pretty insane dive. In fact, let's get a replay from a different camera. All the way from downtown, is able to hold it just barely. There's a tiny bit of contact. Looks like Ruzic had to pull out a little bit. So very questionable by Lucas, but we'll just get on their way. Won't let Ruzic by at all. As Sarver now all over the back of Miller. Sorry for cutting you off there, Billy.
No, you're good. I was just going to say that a set of courses sign there at the exit of that corner is in a very terrible spot. Can never see the finish of those passes.
Correct. TV2 is what you really want to be looking at. Sarver coming all the way back on Ken Miller. Ken Miller going to be taking the outside. Sarver on the outside. Miller on the inside. Miller should have this turn all to himself. Sarver following him behind, trying to get the switchback done. Not going to be able to do so as Ken Miller holds that close tucked line down in the turn 2. Miller still on the defensive line. Sarver not going to be able to put his nose up on the inside. Tries to hold the outside. Won't be able to do it. Come right back on him for turn 3 and 4. Doesn't look like he has a big enough run here to do anything with it. It's just as I say that, closing the gap ever so rapidly, but it shouldn't be able to get an overtake done. They will just have to slot in for the next time around.
It's Butler. We can move on Aoki. He just sticks his nose in. They're both respectful drivers. Butler takes a position.
Nice clean racing. And we need, as we are seeing a lot of battles pop up, Rigatoni, or Kimball and Shackelford, who recently had a drive-through, coming together in a battle. Kimball all over the back of Shackelford. Shackelford's not having a fun time with that car, so Kimball might have the run here on that Porsche. Not a big hole to punt through in terms of aerodynamics, but should have enough slipstream to actually peek out and go for the dive. Kimball does go for the dive late on the brakes, holding the inside very, very tight. Will do so. Shackelford not able to hold that outside line. Tries to dive back over to the inside, won't be able to do so. That position is all Kimball's. Shackelford almost going into back. Kimball just drifting the car. Very, very rough. Having a terrible time with it.
We got some chaos down here in P17 with a couple of blue flags involved as well.
Oh boy.
As some cars are racing for position.
Oh my god, there is a absolute train here. Rigatoni having to go through Guinness. Labella is able to get away cleanly. Actually brings Kimball back into a fight. Shackelford is going to reclaim their position. And Labella has to huge stomp on the brakes because Kimball was not able to get through that chicane smoothly. So Shackelford has another chance to run away with it, but in that very slidey Porsche, will they be able to? Rigatoni going wide in the background, still able to stay in the fight. Labella really wants by, coming down on the inside of Kimball. Will be late on the brakes. He will be. Does get the move done. Kimball's actually going to be able to lose it to Rigatoni. Kimball, biggest loser there. 2 positions lost. Shackelford just gaining all that time still as Labella very fast coming up on Shackelford. Very, very loose in the corner as Labella is very smooth in the corner here. Coming out, should have the run on him very, very wide. Might get a drive through there, but won't do it.
And Burtis and Rodriguez are tail to tail as they're coming through this massive pack of blue flags that we were just watching.
Shackelford going to hold the
And the
inside
back
line there. Dealing defenses. Labello going right into the back of Shackelford as Rigatoni goes back at Labello, which sends Shackelford into a spin. Shackelford ain't going to like that one. Taking the turn very slow. Labello was not expecting as Rigatoni almost misses the breaking point right into the back of Labello. We'll have to give up this position to Kimball possibly. All these blue flags. There's contact between Lucas and Rigatoni.
Oh no, that's a big one.
Oh, not what you want to see if you're Lucas. Lucas making contact with Kimball. Then bumping over to Rigatoni. What a comeback drive for Lucas, but it's all going away as Benderhi's now coming up on the back of Lucas. Lucas having to go wide. Benderhi will take that position. That is a lot of damage on the Honda. Is all kicked off, and we have 420 left to go.
Ironic timing.
Ironic. Sarver coming up on Miller, practically almost going into the back when Rigatoni's having to get out of the way. As I see...
They've been fighting last 3-4 laps. Back and forth, back and forth. Miller had quite the defensive line trying to pass the blue flag on turn 1.
And if I'm not mistaken, that is a drive-through I see on Butler. They will be taking that now. Rigatoni has to go to the pits for damage. And Lucas will be bleeding off time. Benderhi, but he should have a big enough gap to Ken Miller. Sarver still on Miller. Not able to get by. He's going to try to do it on the front stretch. This Audi does not seem very planted for Sarver right now.
And Jan is also fighting the car, trying to chase down Burtis here.
Derry's now coming up into the gap for Ruzic. Sarver on the back of Miller. Kimball getting out of the way. The blue flag trying to get that hole. Sarver will just slot in. Miller taking the defensive line. Sarver not going to be able to do any kind of overtake. Actually, I'm going to try a switchback here. Actually sends it wide. Might have a better run off in the turn 2. Looks like they do. Not going to stick their nose out anywhere here, so they will just slot right back in. Rodriguez is now 3/10 to Burtis.
Yeah, Butler was not really moving out of the way for these two, as it almost compromised Burtis.
However, every time they're coming through that very fast turn, looks like it's just going to ram Miller right off the track. They are nose to tail right now, all over each other. No move is going to be taken yet. Sarver actually bumps Miller a little bit. Nothing happens. Miller able to regain control. There's a yellow flag on Benderhi. What happened there? Like an incident with Shackerfold. Try to rewind and get this. There he coming up on the back of a blue flag. Shackerfold shutting the door on Benderhi. Causing them both to spin. Almost getting collected as well was that other car. Benderhi will not be happy on that and actually gives Lucas that position right back. The leader has started the final lap, so everyone has one more lap to go around after they finish this next lap of theirs. We are almost done with our hour race. And I asked the question, who do we bring in for an interview? Other than our race leaders in terms of divisions.
Which happened to be 1 and 2.
Yes.
So pretty easy decision there.
Easy for us. We need someone else. Who's been your kind of driver of the day, per se, as we see some battles starting to unfold?
I would have to say, I don't know, Roderick's has done pretty well. Let's see who else. I mean, Aoki has done a very good race. He's up 13 positions from his starting grid. Same with Labello. Labello's done a lot of overtaking, almost 20 positions gained. But Passage fighting off the 2 fast guys and just coming out on top. What a great race he had.
Bender is going to take his position back because all that damage to Lucas is just not going too well.
Passage actually has just started the last lap.
Indeed, as I just now saw that. Radio control getting a little bit too eager on us. I see a late drive-through penalty for Santer coming out. Sarver and Miller getting into each other now. A battle that's been going on for ages. Just ended in some contact.
Well, what'd you know? The sign is in the way.
Carver coming up on the inside, not able to hit the braking point. It looks like just as close as Miller. Ends up spinning both of them. Miller will get the
oh, and Lucas has an issue.
Lucas
is in the pits.
Lucas, you just need to go around one more time. He's
Lucas
disqualified. He's disqualified.
Oh, he's disqualified. He probably ran out of fuel.
Man.
I should be asking you that question.
We're gonna go back and see what happens. He's got a lot of damage on the front end there.
Santer had an issue as well coming off the front stretch. Wondering if everyone's thinking that the race is over.
The leader has finished the race.
The race has just now ended, and I saw multiple people pull their cars into the pits.
I'm not sure what happened there. He was going full speed and then just teleported to the pits.
They get disqualified, maybe too many track cuts, but congratulations to Ryan Passage for winning that race. Curtis will come up into P2.
And is the silver winner for today as well.
Silver winner. Roderick's will get P3, so on and so forth. Rizik's getting P4. Don't be tricked by the graphic on your left. And there he will come in for P5. Ken Miller should get P6. All the battles have slowly died out. Farrell and Shackelford kind of in a battle here. There's actually going to be a drag race to the line. Farrell does have the launch off the exit. Shackelford not able to control the car, so Farrell will get that position over Shackelford for P14 and 13, I believe. Good.
We have an update.
We do have an update?
You cannot finish a race under the black-orange flag. That's the meatball, right?
That is the
So-
meatball.
You got meatballed.
Oh no!
Insert your memes here,
Lucas.
folks.
Here's your sign.
Lucas, the meatball Quinceris.
That is big for Ryan Passage in the points
That is
perspective.
absolutely huge to extend that gap even more. Run away with it. Just watching the last of the drivers come over the line, cross Eagle, bending up the Lamborghini this week. Still able to bring it home.
All around great race though.
All around great race. Lots and lots of chaos that has happened. What is your highlighted moments for both of you? Or Bailey.
It's got to be, I think, the contact between Passage and Lucas there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I think, was brewing for a while and kind of, I wouldn't say it threw Passage off, but he dropped a lot of time after that happened.
Yeah, and I think I would have to tend to agree